The internet bullets get you. Internet bullets get you. See, this is empty. Ryan Ham here, and the subject of this video is right in front of you. It is a Springfield Armory XD Mod 2. Now with Grip Zone! Grip Zone! Well, we'll go into that in a minute, but it's not a marketing thing. I'm not trying to make fun of it. This is the Mark II, just like Glock had the Gen 2, Gen 3, Gen 4. What we have here is essentially an updated XD. No, not the XDM. I will go into that in a minute and tell you why it is not the XDM. And one might ask themselves, why would Springfield Armory keep producing the Springfield Armory XD after they had the XDM? The main difference between the XDM and the XD, or the XD Mod 2, or the HS2000 for that matter, the main difference is in the magazine. What they wanted to do is they wanted a product that would have a true double stack magazine, and that way they can get more rounds in their 40 cal, which I don't know, it held maybe 11 or 12 at the time. So that's why, if you're wondering why there's an XDM and an XD, and why the magazines don't interchange, that's the reason. So what changed on the new Mod 2? Well, several things. You can see here's my old HS2000, which was made in the year 2000. The sights are much better. These are Novak style that project all the way back, so you've got a longer sight radius. It doesn't look like they changed the loaded chamber indicator, although they did change the profile on the barrel. Of course, the finish is much nicer on these newer guns too. If you see the front sight, you notice that this has got a red insert on it. As far as the slide goes, you see that they've got similar serrations up front and in the back, but they removed the serrations that were down here. I guess they figured people weren't grabbing the gun down there. I kind of like to grab the gun down there. They also reprofiled it, so the frame is triangular in the back, whereas the old frame was stepped. Kind of like that too. They recontoured the grip. It's the same general shape, but they've recontoured it. You can see the shape is real similar, but it's got more of a pronounced relief cut underneath here compared to the old one. The old one did have a relief cut, but it wasn't quite as pronounced. Instead of being the squared trigger guard of the old HS2000, they've now got a rounded trigger guard. It's got these completely worthless grooves up front here. Same on the old one. The rail here now has 3 slots, whereas the old one had 1. They've done a little more contouring up front than they did on the old style. The takedown lever does not go all the way through. They relocated these pins. This pin now is a little bit lower here. Better grip surface. They call it the grip zone. It's actually got finger grooves now, but they're real small. I'm normally not a big fan of finger grooves, but these are okay. If you get a lot of recoil, this one will imprint XD on the back of your hand. But the grip feels a lot better. For me, the biggest change, and the one that's I think for the best, is the area right beside the grip safety is actually thinner than the old model. And what that does is when I've got my hand on the grip, I actually have to consciously grip it differently than I would grip a 1911 in order to make sure that I'm engaging the grip safety. I could actually feel it moving when I've got a tight grip on it, and then when I adjust my grip to make sure I've got it. So just the way I grip a gun is not conducive to good safety deactivation. However, I have no problem whatsoever with this one. It is, I don't know what they did. I think they just relieved the area around here, and it feels better for me. Some other things they changed. They contoured the slide release. You could see the slide release, and they also contoured the takedown lever, and you can see the difference there. Slide release, square, takedown lever, square, and on the takedown lever there's actually a slot for it to go through up here and a ledge for it to rest on down here, and they've completely eliminated that. This is all internal. There's no ledge. It goes up no matter if it's in line or not, and that's a good thing. The reason I say that's a good thing is because you can see all these scratches along here. those are from improperly assembling the gun with the latch that's moved a little bit, or it comes down as you're trying to assemble it, or what have you. Yeah, I'm an idiot. Sometimes I do damage my own guns, but 16 years hasn't been bad for this one. The trigger safety does not appear to have changed a bit, and that's probably a good thing. It was a good design. The magazine hasn't changed either. The magazines are interchangeable. Unloaded, this gun weighs 27.7 ounces with the magazine, and the magazine itself is 2.9 or 3 ounces depending on how you look at it. And if you live in Australia, it is 785 grams. And for the record, those measurements line up almost exactly with the old HS-2000. So the way this gun takes down is I leave the magazine in just because it's easier to lock the slide back. If you want to take the magazine out first, just great. Just push up on the slide catch as you're pulling the slide back. Pull the slide all the way back and then let it go forward, and it'll rest on the slide catch. At that point, you could push this lever up and then release the slide catch. Point it in a safe direction. Remember, we already cleared the gun. I could clear it again just so you see, but at this point with the takedown lever up, you want to pull the trigger. You see how it's got the little cocked indicator there? Well, yeah, see, that's the grip safety doing it to me. Okay, so now that you've pulled the trigger, you could pull the slide all the way off. And at that point, it's just a matter of lifting the spring assembly out and pulling it out the rear. And you lift the barrel out and you pull it out of the rear. It's completely field stripped. Okay, for these comparisons, I'm going to keep the HS-2000 on the left and the XD on the right. And as you can see, the barrels are roughly equivalent in length. The design is different though. This one appears to be a two-piece design, and they've actually got a little pin holding the rear of the barrel to the rest of the barrel. The throats both look very similar. The sighting hole for the loaded chamber indicator where it pops up is still intact. The muzzle looks a little more beveled on the HS-2000, a little more straight on the new gun. You can see the rifling. HS-2000 again on the left. Yeah, so there's part numbers on the inside, as you can see. And again, the contours are different. So the spring assemblies, okay, so you can see a much larger in the front on that one, much larger spring in general. The size difference on that is obvious. So they probably would not interchange at all. One of the key things that people were worried about when the gun initially came out was the fact that the frame, the plastic part of the frame, was what the rear of the slide bore on. And I think we know now that that is not going to be that big of an issue because it hasn't been until now. One thing you can see down inside of the Springfield Armory is you can actually see a date code down inside of there. And that date code, I believe, is June of 2000. So this is the HS-2000 was made actually in the year 2000. I believe they just essentially retooled the whole design. And it works. I like it. 17 rounds with the Springfield Armory XD9 Mod 2.
Alright, I'm ready.
Cool, shoot. What do you think?
It's a lot different.
A lot different than 22?
A lot different.
their gun pointed downrange for a second. Okay, just pull the slide back briskly and let it go forward. All right. Now go ahead and shoot the rest of the rounds and we'll examine that round in a minute. And that was a dud round. I don't know if it's a weak firing pin or if it's just a dud round. That doesn't look like a full-on strike, so that might be the gun just needing to be broken in. It's got less than 100 rounds through it.
This gun's a lot heavier.
With the 16 rounds in
Yeah.
there? Yeah. It changes the balance as you shoot too. So in order to reassemble, it's pretty simple. Reverse order. Just push the barrel in and then let it drop down. Make sure the spring has this orientation with a fat end up front. You push forward and down. And when you do that, there's a little ledge in here. You see that semicircular ledge there? That's where you're trying to get the rear end of this to lay. So push it in, push it forward and down. It's captive, so it shouldn't jump out of the gun on you. When you do that, you want to make sure this lever is still up and there's no magazine in the gun still. And then slide it forward. Slide the slide the slide back, slide the lower forward. And again, you're going to use your thumb to push up on this lever, lock the slide back, push down on that lever, and then let the slide go forward. Function check it. Everything works. And put the magazine back in. We are done. So the Mod 2 HS 2000 Springfield Armory XD, which is what it is now, will also fire from the old XD magazines, including the 40 cal. If you have a 40 cal magazine, the 9mm will also fit in it, and it seems to function just fine. This is a Springfield Armory. It is a 40 cal magazine. I'm going to shoot it in the XD9 even though it says 40 cal, so 9mm ammunition. And just so you see, it is an XD9 9mm ammunition. See how it shoots? If you look at the magazines on the back there, there is no difference. I've got a round here with, it's probably not going to go off, and it fits just fine in the 40 cal 10 round magazine. This is important for areas where you've got a 10 round limit on the magazine. So it's 10 rounds of 40 cal. But I think you can see where I'm going with this. I do not live in an area with that limitation, but on the video you saw me shooting a 9mm out of the 40 cal magazine. You can also use, of course, the newer magazines, which are fairly cheap and hold 16 rounds if you want. This is a wonderful gun. Would I put it up next to a Glock 19 any day of the week? No, I think it is better than the Glock 19. If you can get over what my hang-up is with it, which is I do not feel comfortable with the grip safety. If you can get beyond that, and 90% of people will not have any problem whatsoever with that, I think this is a better gun than the Glock 19. This equivalent, this better. And I'll say that unequivocally. I think it's a much better design. I like the gun a lot more. And I don't come by that opinion lightly. I've handled a lot of guns. This wouldn't be my first choice. I would actually prefer a longer version, and I do believe they have a longer version without a grip safety, which means I'm kind of in Glock 17 territory there. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, comment, whatever you'd like to do. This is Ryan Ham. I'll see you at the range.